It's another Monday, which means mock draft Monday for New York Jet fans as we try to build this team and put it all together. The Chiefs are in another Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley signed with the Eagles, and F the Bills, baby. Anywho, let's get ready to do a mock draft with one of the best in the business, baby. Boy Green Daily starts now.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Evie.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast. And the Super Bowl is set. We've only got one game left. That'll be in a couple of weeks after all the Pro Bowl mini games and all that jazz. We'll have a Super Bowl rematch of Philadelphia Eagles to Kansas City Chiefs, which means two more teams have joined the draft conversation. Welcome, Buffalo Bills and Washington Commanders. Us Jet fans have been here for a while, but hey, you could join the conversation as well. And we're about to start that conversation with one of my favorites. His name is Russell Brown. He's an NFL draft analyst for Fantasy Pros, Betting Pros. And he's down there at the Senior Bowl, Mobile, Alabama, baby, because we've got some wonderful college football and draft to speak of. Also does some wonderful work for Detroit Lions action with the Lions wire as well. Let's bring him in. It's been a hot second. Russell Brown joining us back here on the program. Good morning, Russell.
My man, how are you?
I'm doing great. Again, as we talked about right before the show started, not great as we could be. I was hoping for a Jets-Lions Super Bowl, but I guess we got to wait for that next year, I guess. But nonetheless, hope is eternal. And that's what Jet fans believe. When we get to the offseason, this is our greatest time of the year. This is how we can, build this team, put it in the right way and say, oh, is 2025 our year, perhaps? I don't know the answer to that question. But a lot of Jet fans are excited because today, Russell, is the official introductory press conference for Aaron Glenn, who's the next head coach of the New York Jets, and Darren Mucci, the general manager now of the New York Jets, formerly of the Denver Broncos. I want to start there before we get into a mock draft, which we will do for the first time on the show this offseason, which will be a lot of fun. Shout out to the PFF mock draft simulator. But before we get there, I mentioned we say that one more time?
I get the first one. I don't mean to cut you off. I get the first one.
No, yes, 100%. We have not done it officially yet. So,
this is pressure, man. This is a lot of pressure.
This is, yeah. Don't screw it up, please. We've been, like I said, we're trying to rebuild this thing, and if you put a shitty brick down while we're building this foundation, I mean, the entire house could fall apart. But
man,
again,
I try not to.
No pressure. But I will say, before we get there, I'm curious, again, a Lions fan's thoughts on Aaron Glenn. Now, this isn't like the Jets hiring Robert Saleh, who a 49ers transplant, a Michigan guy. Jet fans are Googling, who the hell's this guy, and learning a little bit more about him. Aaron Glenn is a former 1994 first-round draft choice of the New York Jets, so a lot of Jet fans will remember him from his playing days and his brief scouting career before he got into coaching. So some Jet fans know about him, but they don't know the moment he left the Jets and continued his coaching career to now re-arriving at One Jets Drive, formerly the Lions. What can you tell us about his Lions tenure as the defensive coordinator, and now he's getting a shot? What can you tell Jet fans?
Well, he's definitely a culture guy. I mean, he's going to be a guy that is going to try to build a culture. He's going to build players up. He's going to get them in the right spots. At least he's going to try to. And obviously they have to be coachable. They have to respond to his coaching and the way he wants to build the culture. So it will be very interesting to see what that culture looks like and who's going to be a part of those plans. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be a part of those plans, right? I mean, that's the question for everybody. That's probably the biggest question for the Jets this offseason. But they do have quite a few free agents that they've got to figure out. Are they bringing back Morgan Moses, Tyron Smith? If not, you got some tackle problems there. Is Tyler Conklin coming back? If he's not, You got a tight end problem. There's a lot of talent on defense that they've got to shore up. But I think he's going to find the right fits on that roster for what he wants to build. And then, they'll draft accordingly to that, and obviously free agency as well. But from a coaching standpoint, and really his coaching style, he runs a base defense. That's what he ran here in Detroit. And there really is no 3-4, 4-3 defense anymore. That's a thing of the past. That's 20 years ago. Teams really nickel and dime their way down the field anymore. But if he ran his base package, it would be with a 4-down front, so 4-down linemen. And then he's going to throw a lot of variations to that. He seemed to like 3 linebackers in Detroit. And as we saw here, we saw the combination of Derek Barnes and Malcolm Rodriguez with Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone. Obviously, injuries in Detroit, probably the most injured team in the National Football League this year, as far as starters and those types of things. He definitely had to adjust. And that's when he brought, the 5-man front. He'd bring the Sam linebacker down. So we'd see Trevor Nowaski come down. But primarily they were nickel team. Probably for the second half of the season. So a 4-2-5, you saw 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs. I think that'll be probably most of what he tries to do, is specifically with some of the defensive back talent that he's got. Again, he's got a lot of defensive backs that he's got to replace or bring back. But you got the talent there. Chuck Clark, Sauce Gardner, right? DJ Reed. What's going to happen with Ashton Davis? So I think there's a couple of different players there. But overall, he's a man coverage guy. He's going to draw up blitzes. He wants to get pressure that way. Obviously, he would love, his ace or his key pass rusher, as I would call him, like an Aiden Hutchinson. And in your guys' case, maybe Will McDonald. You'd want him to be on the field to be rushing the passer, and that's going to be the guy that you really get your pressures off on. But at the same time, he's going to blitz. He's going to send, C.J. Mosley or Quincy Williams or whoever it may be on blitzes, and he's going to try to send 5. More often than not. And he's going to man guys up with the cover 1 defense. He likes that single high safety look a lot. But at the same time, you'll see different variations of cover 3 with that zone coverage look. And they ran a little bit more cover 2 in Detroit this year. So it'll be interesting. He's going to, I think, play to the tendencies of his players. And again, we'll see. He's a player's coach. Players are going to relate to him because he played in the league. And the hope is that he has the same effect on the Jets as Dan Campbell did on the Lions.
I'm glad you brought up the schematics because I'm going to be honest, since Aaron Glenn has been hired and the rumors have gone about, one of the most popular questions I get here on the show every day is, Paul, is Aaron Glenn a 4-3 guy? Is he a 3-4 guy? What does that mean for insert defensive guys on the Jets? Because over the last 10 or 15 years, the Jets have really run both. Rex Ryan had an amoeba stand-around sort of defense. Robert Saleh had the attacking 4, rotating defensive line. But again, a bunch of nickel, despite the fact he was a 4-3 defense. Michael Carter II was on the field a lot more than Jamian Sherwood was as a sub-package linebacker. So I'm glad that you answered that and brought that up because, like I said, that's one of the most common questions we're asked here on the channel. And with Aaron Glenn coming in, people are asking that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a common question, and it's pretty much a common answer between personnel people you talk to or scouts you talk to, or even just watching the games. You'll notice there's a variation. There's multiple fronts nowadays, and you have to be versatile. And the game is just so much faster than it was 20, 25 years ago, or obviously when Aaron Glenn played 30 plus years ago.
Sure,
so
right.
The game has changed, and you got to have speed, and you got to play multiple spots. And I think he's got guys on the roster to do that. And I think he's going to look to address that with that defense, because I think that's probably what he's going to want to clean up most, and probably first with his first crack at building a roster here.
And you just mentioned it. He's never been a head coach before, so this is a defensive-oriented question here. But what does a player on an Aaron Glenn defense look like? He ran the shop for several seasons with the Lions, so obviously he had to work with the ingredients that were already in the store when he showed up. But eventually, year after year after year, in theory, he has his fingerprints all over the defense. So he brought in guys that he wanted, either from previous stops. He brought up Alex Anzalone or others. What does if Aaron Glenn is plucking the fruit off the tree, what is a defensive player that's in his defense? What does that look like? What are characteristics?
You got to be a hard-nosed football player. You got to come in and compete, and you got to work. If you're not going to work and you're going to, be a player that I can't practice today. My finger hurts. I can't practice today. My knee hurts. I can't, those little injuries, he's not gonna be a fan of. And just know that from being around the organization and around people that are within the organization, there's particular players that did not really, get in his good gracious for the way that they approach practice and approach games and really carried themselves and handled their body, because he gets it. You're gonna get banged up. He knows you're going to be at your healthiest in April and May and June, and then as the season goes on, you're going to wear down. But you're going to have to fight through it and battle through it because you get paid to do that. So you're going to have to come in and work hard. And I don't want to say lunch pail kind of guy, but it's kind of like that great mindset that the Lions have, and he embodied that during his tenure in Detroit, and that's why the defense. At first, it was kind of shaky. He had a lot of leftover players from Matt Patricia, and then he kind of got his guys, and we saw the advancements within the defense. And I think he would have had his best defense this year and probably a top 3 defense in the NFL had they stayed healthy. The injuries is what really hurt him this year as far as schematically and what he wanted to do. But if you are willing to work and you're going to pursue to the football and you're going to lay some wood on somebody, you're going to hit somebody, you're the type of player for Aaron Glenn. And it just looks like he's a guy that, he will get the most out of any player. He's going to squeeze it for every drop that he can get. And he's going to try to do whatever he can for any of his guys to be successful. And I can only imagine, that was as a DC, I can only imagine what it's going to be like for him as a head coach.
Russell, slap my hand here if this is too lazy of a thing to make here. Okay. Aaron Glenn, former defensive back. You go to the Jets, right? And you talked about all the movement that could exist. So you have Sauce Gardner on one side. He's under contract, of course. Michael Carter II, he got the nice deal before the year, so he's under contract. But DJ Reed is set to reach free agency, and he said he pulled a Bart Scott, can't wait to reach the open market so I can leave. So, oh boy, that seems like a hole to fill. And this has been a very popular one. Again, we've been talking a lot of draft here on the show, but we haven't done a mock draft yet. And again, we'll be doing that in a few minutes. But a popular name people have brought up, Ricky New York, I'll give him a shout out in the comment section, Will Johnson. And people are drooling to say, hey, Aaron Glenn, DB, hey, Sauce, get him a a Batman Robin situation. You got Michael Carter II, kill people from an elite secondary that's going to hold people up, and then your pass rushers and crazy blitzing from Aaron Glenn is going to get home more times than not. Is that too lazy of a thing to do with AG, former DB? Hey, plug and play DB. Maybe that's just the answer with the 7th overall draft choice.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think he fits kind of the profile that he would want with a defensive back. I mean, he's got some good length to him. Will Johnson's, listed at 6'1", 6'2". He'll probably check in around that. He's about 200 pounds. He's filled out his frame quite a bit from the first year he was at Michigan to now. So you see a guy that has gotten stronger. He's gotten a little bigger. He's very patient. He's got a very fluid back pedal. I think he's quick in and out of his breaks. I think he's a strong tackler, and that's key. He wants guys on the perimeter that can tackle. If you can't tackle on the perimeter, you can't play for Aaron Glenn. So I think that's going to be the key. And if Will Johnson is the best player available there at that selection for the Giants at 7, I think that's okay. I mean, you're asking for a lot of a corner to come in and be the number 2 guy, because he's going to, teams are going to look at him. They're not going to target Sauce, right? Like, they know what they're getting with Sauce opposite of him. So you're going to get targeted. And can those players, whoever that player is that's playing opposite, can they withstand that? Can Will Johnson do that? Can he handle, does he have the mental makeup to get targeted 6, 7, 8 times a game and let up 4 or 5 completions here or there and throughout this, certain weeks of the season? So I think he will be able to do that. I think Will Johnson's a fine player, probably certainly the 10 best players in the draft, maybe one of the 5 best players in the draft. I haven't fully graded out, a ton of players just yet, but I think he'd be a fine fit. I don't think it would be crazy if they took him at 7. Now, if they went ahead and drafted a Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame, not saying he's a bad player, but knowing the injury history there and that he was banged up a little bit this year. I know Will Johnson was banged up, but I think there's a drop off between Will Johnson and Ben Morrison. So if I'm comparing, the players at that position, obviously I think there's a little bit of a drop off. The dream would be to get Travis Hunter. I don't think that's going to happen, right? But I think Will Johnson would be a fine fit.
Quick follow up on Will Johnson. So, in again mock drafts now to what mock drafts will be in a month, 2 months, 3 months as the process goes on. Again, Russell Brown here is live down there at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. So you got the Senior Bowl, we got the Shrine Bowl, we've got Combine, Pro Days. A lot of things are going to change draft stock, but a popular one we've seen very early in this process is Will Johnson could go as high as 5th overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars and give themselves a corner. But a mock drafter that I really respect in this business is Daniel Jeremiah, aka Move the Sticks, and he just dropped his first mock draft. And old Will Johnson hit the old slip and slide, falling all the way to the 15th overall pick to the Falcons. And here was the nugget, and he only provides a sentence or two on each pick, but his insights are always interesting. He called Will Johnson a polarizing player around the league. He provides size and production, but some questions have emerged about his tackling and top speed in 2024. And obviously, you mentioned the injuries that obviously prevented him from doing everything and anything that he would have wanted. When you mentioned those tackling issues, and then you mentioned the things that we want to look for in AG, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Like there's the talent and all that. That's intriguing. Then I hear that. Is that some of the stuff, again, I know you're still fully evaluating this class, but when you hear questions about tackling, and people made those questions about Sauce this year, and he got a lot of something funny, not funny, that happened this year is Sauce got called out to shit for his shitty tackling. And then he made a random tackle in a random game late in the season. And it was at MetLife Stadium, and the crowd arose to their feet and gave him a sarcastic applause. Sauce thought it was a real applause. So after the game, he said, I really want to give a shout out to the fans for thanking me. Man, I've never really had that after a tackle. And I think someone had to tell him after that was not – that was sarcastic. But either way, again, hearing that about Sauce, and Sauce said this offseason really wants to work on it, that could scare a few Jet fans if you also see the same thing DJ sees with some questionable tackling potentially from Will Johnson this past season.
Yeah, I think it's more so that he just was never really healthy. I think he got injured early in the year, and I think he tried to battle through, and it got to a point where they kind of shut him down. And I think he kind of knew going into this year that I'm one of the the better players in this draft. I'm going to end up going. I'm going to get healthy, and I'm going to get ready for the offseason and the draft season that's coming for myself. Especially after they lost a couple of games there at Michigan, because they were kind of out of the Big Ten race relatively. Yeah. So I think that's kind of what happened with him. And I think if you've shown it throughout the course of your career in college and you've shown that you can do it, then I think it's one of those where Aaron Glenn can say, you know what, I can tap into that. I can get him to be better. And if you trust that your coaching staff can do that, then you draft a player like that 100%. So could he slide? Yeah, absolutely. Corners are very tough to predict in the NFL. You look at Terrion Arnold. He was, kind of the consensus top corner last year outside of maybe Quinyon Mitchell. And he slid to the Lions a little bit. They had to trade up for him, but he slid a little bit. And he was kind of up and down this year, So it's a tough position because you're on an island and you're playing against the best receivers on the planet. I mean, the drop off from college receivers in the Big Ten to what's in the NFL, it's night and day. So I can understand the slip there, but if he's there at 7 and that's your guy, I think you go ahead and take him.
Again, we're speaking Russell Brown, our NFL draft analyst from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros here on the show. I've delayed long enough. Jet fans have been salivating and waiting for this moment. So it's time for the first ever mock draft here, at least for this cycle for Jet fans. And like I said, shout out to PFF. We'll be using their NFL mock draft simulator. Again, it's only the first round, so we're just dipping our toe here in the water, and we're making all the settings basically normal across the board, outside of randomness, because I've done the randomness thing before, and that gets some weird shit going on in there. So everything else is 50-50 across the board. We will enter the draft. It is only one selection for you, Russell. It's a 7th overall pick, and we'll be doing that for the Jets, and it'll advance quickly here. So the Jets are 7th overall. Here are the players that came off the board. The Cam Ward went to the Tennessee Titans. Shadur Sanders went to the Cleveland Browns. Travis Hunter went to the New York Giants. Tet McMillan went to the New England Patriots. Wide receiver out of Arizona, I guess I should say positions for people who are new to the draft process. Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami. Shadur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. Travis Hunter, cornerback wide receiver out of Colorado. Tet McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona to the New England Patriots at 4. Abdul Carter, the talented pass rusher from Penn State, 5th overall, the Jaguars. And Mason Graham, the interior defensive lineman of Michigan, to the Raiders, which leaves everything else on the board here for the New York Jets. So first off, I don't know how many mocks you've been forced to do so far this offseason, Russell. What's the thought process for the Jets? The 7th overall is a great opportunity to get a guy. I don't know how many blue chip players you have in this class. Again, I know you haven't fully evaluated everything yet, but this feels like a good opportunity for Aaron Glenn and Darren Mucci to get off to a great start with some talent there for the NYJ.
Yeah, I mean, looking here, Ashton Genty's obviously always intriguing just because of the difference maker that he is, right? Like if you're coming in, if he is bringing some of that Detroit mentality, you want to run the football. But if I'm looking at this and I got Will Campbell here, I mean, I know I've said I haven't graded everybody out, but Will Campbell's going to be, one of the 2 or 3 best players on my board without question.
Wow.
This would be the player that I would select. I think he's a safe pick. You have the tackle concerns, with Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith, what's happening there. I know you have Fashanu.
Of course. Yeah.
But you can't just keep swinging on 2nd and 3rd round picks at tackle, like, a Max Mitchell or something like that, and hope that it works out. You got to get something a little bit consistent for whoever the quarterback's going to be, whether it's Rodgers or somebody else. So I don't know who the quarterback's going to be, but if I'm then I'm taking Will Campbell, and that would be the guy. He's just, like I said, he's so consistent. His stance is kind of sloppy. He looks like he just crawled out of bed, but he is just so consistent with his post foot and his set foot, and he's able to create some separation there and keep guys at bay and keep them away from the quarterback. I love the way he strikes. I love the way that he can climb. I think he can move in space. And it's a boring pick, but we're talking about protecting your franchise. And if Aaron Glenn is, as defensive minded as we all know he is, I think you can swing at some other players defensively later, because I do think there's a little bit of a drop off outside of Will Campbell. I mean, I like Calvin Banks. I don't love him compared to Will Campbell. I like Josh Connerly from Oregon. So
what about the Ohio State kid who got hurt? What's his name? Simmons? Yeah.
Simmons. Yep. I like him too, but now we're dealing with a guy that's injured. You got Will Campbell. It's pretty consistent for 2-3 years here. He started, I think at times as a true freshman, if I remember right. Wow. So I like the way he interviews. He seems like a guy that studies the game. He wants to get better. And I think that's really going to resonate with a guy like Aaron Glenn here.
Let me do a quick follow-up here on Will Campbell. It sounds like a great pick. Where are you at? There was some early, octagon fighting happening between draft analysts. He's an offensive tackle. No, your mom. He's a guard. Where do you stand, Russell Brown, on the tackle guard conversation with Will Campbell?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it doesn't, like, arm length, it matters to a degree. Like if his arms were like 31 inches, sub 32 or something, okay. Yeah. If they're at 33, cool. I don't care. He's doing it in the SEC at a high level consistently at tackle. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Let it be. And if he ends up struggling, okay, maybe you move him inside to guard at that point, or maybe you move him from the left side to the right side. Maybe that's better. But I think you got a guy that can play left tackle for you. And, we all know that's one of the most important positions in football. It's one of the premier positions. So you go out and get a premier player at a premier position. You let it be. And even if it's boring, you think back though, look at what the Bucs did with like Graham Barton. They took a center last year. It's going to work out just fine for them. They probably have a 10 to 12 year pro at center if they keep him. You look at Peter Skoronski at Tennessee, probably the only nice thing about their offense, So you got to build things. It's not sexy and it's not fancy, but it's something that you can build around. So I think it's boring, but it's a great pick for the future and for this upcoming season.
Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with meat and potatoes. And quite frankly, when you look at the Jets' offensive line heading into next year, 4 of their 5 starters are on lock. You have Olu Fashanu. You have John Simpson, who, by all the analytics, did a marvelous job this year for the New York Jets. You have Joe Tippmann. And you have Elijah Vera Tucker, who at least was able to finish a season healthy. He did have a few hiccups during the year as far as injuries are concerned. Then you mentioned Morgan Moses. He's a free agent. Does he come back for one more year and kind of compete for that job, or what sort of happens there? So again, to your point, maybe it's not sexy, but I don't know how many Jet fans will be complaining about reinvesting in the offensive line because, as a guy that covers the entire draft, and the entire league from that perspective. The Detroit Lions are the creme de la creme. Look at what they did with the offensive line and what it seemingly unlocked everywhere else with Jahmyr Gibbs going crazy, Jared Goff having this career renaissance with the Detroit Lions. I don't think you're going to get a lot of people pushing back on this because, like I said, it's been a long time since the Jets have had this stout offensive line. We got to go back to the 06 Brick Mangold days of putting that one together and adding Damian Woody's and Brandon Moore's and really putting that construct together where that was the foundation. And shoot, that was the last time the Jets were in the playoffs too, when I'm talking about those offensive line teams. So, all right, Will Campbell. But before Will Campbell's in. I refuse. You can't be influenced, Russell. You're you're not able to be influenced by any of these words I say. You're too strong for my weak Jedi mind tricks here.
No, he's the pick. Lock it in for sure for me. Okay. But I will say this, and it's as you connect some dots here, it is a little odd that Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell, their first draft together in Detroit in 2021, they had the 7th overall pick, and they took Penei Sewell. Here we have Will Campbell. I just think it's kind of cool to connect those dots and see some similarities there. So they started in the trenches. Maybe Aaron Glenn does the same thing here with Will Campbell.
Hey, nothing wrong there at all. The name I wanted to pick your brain about, we brought up Daniel Jeremiah, and I'm curious because this is another one that I think Jet fans are a little burned about last year. This was a big topic of conversation last year. Brock Bowers, Fashanu, trading up for one of the big receivers. And so the Jets passed on Brock Bowers, and half the fans were like, oh, awesome. Other half said, Jets, you made a horrible mistake passing on this guy. Then Brock Bowers has this crazy year, and Jet fans are yelling at other Jet fans saying, see, I told you he was terrific. So now we go to this year, and in Daniel Jeremiah's first mock, he has a tight end going to the Jets with the 7th overall pick, and that is Tyler Warren, the kid out of Penn State. So I'm curious, again, just throwing that back at you. Again, we will lock in Will Campbell here, but just for the conversation piece I know there's a lot of Brock Bowers boys, as they were called last year in Jets fan base land. How does Tyler Warren compare? Because that's what a lot of people will perhaps lazily do, is they're going to be like, okay, what's this guy to Brock Bowers? Because the Jets tight end room is going to light on fire this offseason. Conklin's probably going to be gone. Jeremy Ruckert stinks to all high heaven. So they've got like nothing in the room. So I understand why Daniel Jeremiah would have went in that direction, but a lot of Jet fans are curious about the young man. What can you tell us about Tyler Warren here, and is he worthy of being a top 10 draft selection here in April?
I definitely think he's worthy of being a top 10 pick. Just when you look at some of the teams on the board here, I mean, you mentioned the Jets. Obviously, that could be a landing spot. Carolina at 8 would make some sense as well. He's obviously improved greatly from where he was in 2020 and 2021. He had over 100 catches this past year. I like Tyler Warren for the versatility aspect. I think alignment versatility is everything with tight ends, which is actually a position coach, as a position coach in high school of that spot. I want my tight ends to be versatile. I want you to play in line. I want you to play on the line. I want you to play out wide in the slot. Obviously, in high school, it's a little bit different, but in the NFL, you can kind of pick and choose what you need to get. And I think Tyler Warren gives you a little bit of everything. So I like that with his game. I think he's a pretty good blocker. I don't think he's great at it, but I think he's a willing blocker. And if you're willing to be a blocker as a tight end, you can grow. And obviously just with his size, I mean, he's 6'5", 260 pounds. Like that's what he's listed at. We'll see obviously how it all measures out in a few weeks at the combine. But he moves well for his size. I just think the difference between him and Bowers is that movement, that lateral ability. I think the movement skills from Brock Bowers is what makes him so different and so unique for the position, because he can play multiple spots, but what he's able to do after the catch is what makes him so different, where I think Tyler Warren can do it, but only to a certain degree. And I don't think it's an elite trait of his, where I think with Bowers it is. So I would be okay with it if I'm a Jets fan, but at the same time, if Will Campbell's there and we're passing on him, I'd be a little upset. Now, if Campbell is gone, I completely understand if Tyler Warren is the pick in this instance. But if I'm a Jets fan, I'm looking Will Campbell at 7, and then we get into the second round, and maybe we go with like a Harold Fannin at pick 42, who I think is one of the better tight ends in this draft. And I think after this week here in Mobile, I think people will be very much on the Harold Fannin train from Bowling Green.
Okay, fascinating. Well, let me ask you this. This would be biased, of course. If the Jets ended up with Will Campbell with the seventh overall pick, what grade would you give yourself if the Jets ended up with Will Campbell?
Yeah, that's an A. I mean, I think it's an A grade.
Okay.
I think it's a guy that you plug and play, and I don't
Okay.
think you have much to worry about. And I think that's the thing you want with your first round picks, right? You don't want to have to worry about that. You got enough to worry about with picks, 2, 3, 4, and down the line. So I think you want guys that can come in and play right away, especially with a first year head coach.
All right, so PFF gave you a B, but I call that B for bullshit because they don't know what they're talking about. Because Gosh darn Russell Brown here is the one that's giving us the real answers to the test. So nice try, PFF. And last one here, Russell, before we get you out of here, and I appreciate you taking the time. Busy time down there in Mobile with all the players reporting, and practice is going to be this week. The game, of course, is going to be a lot of fun. What is entering Mobile? It doesn't have to be a Jets related question or answer that you're going to give me for this, but you heading down to the Senior Bowl, what was your top question on your mind that you were hoping to get answered this week? Again, Senior Bowl is this week upcoming, so you're about to be going to all these practices in the game and conversations with all these NFL league execs that are going to be down there. But what is the top question on your mind that you're like, okay, it's on my mind. Now let's do all these Senior Bowls, practices, conversation, everything that you're hoping to get answered. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very scheme oriented meat and potatoes football kind of guy. So I'm going to probably ask these players a lot of X and O's types questions. I'm not going to, ask them, what's your biggest strength? What's your biggest weakness? Like, I don't really do those ones. I let somebody else do those. I ask them more specific plays in practice, or if I'm watching their tape, I'll ask them specific plays. So I like to pull up certain things. Like, for example, a few years ago, Cam Taylor-Britt was down here from Nebraska. He ended up going to the Bengals. But he made a play during one of my tape studies on him. And he just, I don't know what his coverage drop was. It looked like it potentially cover 3 or cover 4. And he just made this athletic play. So I asked him about it. And when I asked him it, he just lit up and we hit the ground running from there. So I always like asking those to really spark the interest of the player, because they get, asked a lot of the same questions over and over and over again. So it gets a little repetitive. So I like to kind of mix and match certain things. And then just from a talent perspective, just looking at the talent that's out here, I think it's one of the better Senior Bowl rosters that we've seen in some time. My first draft down here was 2018 with Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen at quarterback.
Great class.
And that was a great class as far as talent for the Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always been like, well, can anything top that? And in recent years, it's been okay, but this year it seems to be pretty good. I'm a little bummed that like Will Howard's not going to be down here. I thought that would have been really cool to see him compete. Sure. But just, looking at some of these defensive linemen, Deion Walker from Kentucky, in the summer, he had first round buzz, seems to kind of cool off a little bit here. So really curious what some of these guys do. Because I think in the trenches for teams that need O-line and D-line help, I think there's a great group down here. So that's going to be one of my big focal points, because obviously as a Lions guy, I think that's where we need to improve a little bit too. So I'm going to be paying attention to that. But it's always fun down here. I mean, there's so much to take in. You go out for a drink and all of a sudden you look to your left and there's John Elway. You look over your shoulder, Matt Rule's eating chicken wings, and Freddie Kitchens is, doing whatever. So there's all kinds of fun stuff happening down here, and it's always surreal. But you need to come down here, Paul. You really do.
I know. Here's this is going to sound awful, but I'm just going to say it, so it's obviously been on my bucket list for a long time. I'm a big draft fan. It was funny. It was supposed to line up last year for Senior Bowl comment, like all of it. I was just going to get to do everything. I was like, oh man, this is great. And then a snag hit at my job where they wanted me to focus on something else. I'm like, son of a biscuit. And now, I have a daughter, and I know this sounds horrible. Her birthday was over the weekend. She turned 3. God bless. That's it was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was amazing. But now that she, is alive and born on the planet, and her birthday's on January 25th, I've been getting a lot of, wait a second, you're going to go to an event in the week of her birthday? And I'm like, ah, geez. So now I'm going to have to try to find some sort of Guatemalan loophole here to see how I'm going to be able to circumvent this in the future of trying
Yeah.
to figure out that problem. So that's my next task, Russell. Is maybe it's a written permission slip from Russell Brown saying, "Hey, Paul absolutely has to attend. Sorry, fam, peace."
Yeah.
So I'm gonna work on some other ways to make that happen, Russell. But we gotta again because we've been doing this whole song and dance virtually for a million years. For God's sakes, we gotta
Yeah.
gotta see each other in person.
Yeah, no, I think you'd have a great time down here, man, especially if you can get the score down here with you. You guys
Oh
can set
yeah,
up on
baby.
Radio Row and
Mm.
interview players, and I think you'd have an absolute blast. And just getting to knowing you'd be able to see some Jets guys down there bumping elbows
Hey.
with people, and you'd be like, "What is going on down there?" So I think you'd get a kick out of it. I hope you can make it happen because we'll definitely meet up and have some fun, man.
That'd be a lot of fun. Now, one last quickie, I want to go back to it, and I think you sort of answered at the tail end of your answer there. But when you get all nitty gritty and you go X's and O's with a player, right? You get him in a one-on-one op. I haven't been there personally. I just know a bunch of buddies that are down there all the time, and how you guys have this bevy of interview opportunities. Do they, like a player, random player? Do they light up? Go, oh shit, oh okay, oh I didn't know. I didn't know whatever the Shaq thing is, right? I wasn't aware of your game. Like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, you're speaking on that level as opposed to, hey, what's your favorite color? Hey,
yeah,
what's your
yep,
favorite movie?
yep,
They're like, okay, here's the bullshit. Then they hear like an X and O's question. I was curious if they kind of perked up, like,
yeah.
oh, okay, like let's roll up the sleeve, let's get a little froggy here. So I was kind of curious if that's again, you've talked to a million players down at the Senior Bowl. I was curious if the majority of them, to the same example you sort of gave, kind of perk up and go, oh, okay, let's get into it. I love talking about that sort of thing. Or if that rubbed them the wrong way, because I imagine that's how all the NFL people probably, for the most part, ask those questions. So I was kind of curious.
Yeah, they definitely do. I'll use today as an example. I
Hmm.
was at the airport at 6 in the morning today, and
Hmm.
at the gate I saw a Michigan player. I didn't know he was a Michigan player. I assumed, but I didn't know. I saw the college football playoff bag that he had, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, he's definitely going to Mobile. I can just tell. And
Yeah.
he was a stockier guy, and um, I saw him get in the plane, and I was a little bit behind him, and I didn't really think anything of it. I'm walking to my seat, and he's sitting right where I need to be, and I'm like, you can sit there if you want. I'm going to sit right next to you. We're in the same spot, so we sat next to each other, and I just sparked up the conversation. I said, "You're going to Senior Bowl?" And he goes, "Yeah, how'd you know?" And we started talking, and it was Michigan's long snapper, William
Oh, that's
Wagner.
so cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so got to talk to him a little bit, and I interviewed him. I dropped that today on USA Today at the Lions Wire, but just
Man.
talking to him, about football, and like we were talking about the Lions and the Commanders, and I talked about some of the misalignments with the defense and stuff like that, and from the game before, and he was like, "Oh, you do know what you're talking about," and I was like, "Thank you." And so
Yeah,
I,
that's going to be validating, I imagine. That's cool.
yeah. So I think when we started talking a little bit of football and that stuff, I think he was a little bit more inclined to take his
Mm.
personal time and let me do an interview with him. So
Oh, that's cool.
it was cool. And I just, yeah, I mean, you can see the spark when they get those types of questions. Not saying, asking them what their favorite color is or whatever. You ask whatever you need to
Hey.
ask.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because not everybody, it is what it is. But
Right.
yeah, it's always fun. I mean, I'm a football junkie, and if you're a football junkie, this is the place to be.
Again, Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy, one of the best in the business. They're going to be doing awesome work, and so is everyone that's going to be down there covering the event. It's going to be amazing. Again, Russell, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. Enjoy the hell out of it, man. And one of these days, again, I'm just going to go F it, and I'm just going to show up, and I'm going to be able to check off a million things off the bucket list of seeing everybody there, including Russell. You're there at the top of the list, baby.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, look forward to it, man, and appreciate the time as always. Always enjoy talking draft, Jets, and anything else we got.
Well, thank you, Russell, for joining us. Again, we'll take a timeout. We'll open up the phone lines next for all of you guys coming up right here on Boy Green Daily, baby. More coming up here on the show. Hang on tight.
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Talking just football, man. Boy Green Daily, Bug me daily, bug me daily. The New York Jets Football Club. Wow. Offense, defense, special teams. Watch the Super Bowl season with Boy Green. Jets, Jets. Boy Green.
Love Hep. He's one of the best in the business, baby. Salute to Hep, and thanks to Russell Brown, our NFL draft analyst from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros, for joining us on the program. The phone lines are now open. That's youtube.com/boygreen25. Make sure you jump on the program if you'd like to have any questions about Russell Brown's call. It's also, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Aaron Glenn and Darren Mucci Day. We got 600 people in the room. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, baby. And we got to catch up on a few things. Let's catch up on a few things right now, including right at the beginning of the show. Let's get it. Our number one Austrian Jet fan, baby, gifted a Boy Green Coffee Club membership. Hit it. Austrian, thank you very much. And that membership went to Nate. We see you, Nate. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you to number one Austrian Jet fan for that membership. Let's update the banner here. Booyah! Our number one Austrian Jet fan has 235 gifted memberships this cycle, baby. He's got a great opportunity to win our awesome prize pack, which again is an Aaron Rodgers Nike Atmosphere jersey, a $50 Boy Green Merch Shop gift card, and a custom laser engraving package. So again, everybody that gifts a membership has a chance to win that prize. Obviously, the more memberships you gift, the better your odds are. But hey, if you got a ticket to the dance, there's a chance to win something. And plus, I also want to do something for all our free people here on the show that are just subscribed to the channel, and that's great. Again, that is free to subscribe to the channel. Once we reach mile markers here on the show, again, we're getting closer and closer, so thanks everybody for subscribing. Once we get to 7,500 subscribers, we're at like 7,300, give or take. So we're only 200 and change subscribers away from giving away this. I'm going to give an autographed piece of Jets memorabilia that was signed by 2 former New York Jets first-round picks. We'll be giving that away to one lucky subscriber. And again, subscribing to the channel is free, absolutely free, FREE free, and it means a lot here on the channel for you guys to subscribe. So make sure you do. Hep asked this before, and again, we've got a bunch of people wanted to call on the show. We'll bring all you guys on in a moment here. But like I said, you could share it out on your Facebook or Twitter or anywhere. Share out the link to the Boy Green YouTube channel, baby, and you guys can get those subscribers up. And like I said, as soon as we reach those mile markers, 7,500, 8,000, 8,500, we're going to be giving away more cool stuff. So that's for the free subscribers. And like I said, you get a much better package for the people that are attempting to join the Boy Green Coffee Club and spread the love in that way as well. One other thing I just want to highlight real quick. I saw Indy Jet sent in a super chat member shout out here. Let me see if I can get that on here. And shout out to Russell Brown. He's a Will Campbell guy. Meat and potatoes, offensive line pick. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. And Daniel Jeremiah over the weekend, as we were talking about on the show, he had Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. So hopefully all you Bowers boys out there are like, hey, that's sort of close to what I wanted before. Anyway, sorry, Indy Jets. I'm trying to find. Here it is. Indy Jets with a member super chat shout out. Again, he's been a member for 3 months. Salute to you, sir. Let's give a shout out to my daughter, Zariah Luna.
Wow.
Happy birthday to Zariah Luna. She turned 3 over the weekend. We had a wonderful time, and thank you, Jets, for waiting for the introductory press conference today. I know you only did that for me, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate that. Indy Jet says we need Ibuka next to Wilson. That'd be a fun pick. It looks like he's going late first round, so that might have to either be a trade down scenario from 7 or get Froggy. The Jets are in the low 40s. Maybe you launch back up into the back end of the first round. Could be an option. I like it, Indy Jets. And obviously Garrett would like it to see his former teammate. All right, let's jump to the phone lines. Got a lot of people here on the show. Let's go to Hep first. What's up, Hep?
Hey, Paul. On watching the games yesterday, it did my heart good seeing Josh Allen crying in his suit.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah,
I just have to make that clear. And apparently a lot of people didn't agree. There were Jet fans last night that were rooting for the Buffalo Bills.
No way.
Excuse me? There were. I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, people. Okay, let me make this perfectly clear. I will see the Chiefs win 10 Super Bowls before I see the Bills win 1. What are we talking about here? So
don't you remember those fans?
Last night
those fans are the worst. They come to our stadium, they disrespect us. The hell with those people.
Yeah, come on, screw the Buffalo Bills. So I enjoyed their misery quite much last night.
Yeah, me
Terrific.
too. And the other thing I really enjoyed was
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley running.
Oh, I love
You know,
Saquon.
yeah,
Again,
yeah,
I was rooting for the Commanders, for Jane Daniels and everybody, but come on, man. As a former, Hep, me and you are both former running backs. Saquon has a very
exactly.
soft spot in my heart. The Giants screwed him, which I'm happy selfishly for Saquon because he went to a much better situation. He's going to be in the Super Bowl for Pete's sake. But yeah, Saquon is such a smooth, brilliant, talented runner. He's a great
Yeah.
kid. I love everything about him.
You know, being a former running back, you know, and you too, there's a feeling you get when you bust through the line and all of a sudden you
Oh
see
yeah.
the hole open up and you go,
Hmm.
you see nothing but daylight. You go, oh boy, this is going to be a good one. And it all
Oh
happens in a
yeah.
split second, you know, but it's an amazing
Right.
feeling.
It is very quick. It's very split second. And to your point, he's got this smoothness to the game. There's this fluidity, like his spin move of just being just out of the way of everybody, cutting back to the middle of the field. Again, he's one of the most talented running backs in the league. How
Yeah,
do you not feel great for that guy? You know,
sure. Thanks, guys. I'll see you on the rebound.
appreciate it, Hep. Thank you so much. Great call. Great call. Yeah, Saquon again. He's a fun cat. All right, let's go to this guy. We talked a lot about one of his favorite players in this class, Ricky New York. Will Campbell was a highlight of this show. What's up, Ricky? What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot, Paul. Just got in from work a few
Okay.
minutes ago, and but I got my new Williams Brothers T-shirt,
Very nice. Yeah.
Q and Q, and
Hmm.
I also got this CJ Mosley hat,
Oh,
brand
nice.
new as
Okay.
well.
You're always merched up, Ricky. You know, I like
I
your
know
vibe, man.
I'm probably like one of the only idiots still like buying Jet stuff still after the year that we had, but just
I don't
can't
really
help
do that
myself.
either, Ricky. So me and you are together. I buy Jets gear like every day. Like I don't. People say, "Oh, boycott and do this." I can't.
No,
I'm
yeah.
in. They know I'm in, and oh well. Like I'm sorry.
When you're
They've
uh
got me
when
by the
you're
balls.
yeah, when you're a real diehard fan, there isn't an off season.
Right.
It's 24/7.
100%.
Um, at any rate, yeah, like what you need to do is like find out what kind of family activity type stuff there is to do in mobile, and sell the wife on that. And
That's it.
and you tell her like, hey man, when you're coming into mobile on the interstate, you go through this tunnel that actually goes down and goes under the water, and it's really cool. We don't have anything like that up here,
Smart.
which
Okay, I
that
like
is
it. That's
true.
how you sell it. That's how I get there. I like it,
Yeah,
Ricky. Yeah.
absolutely. Uh, anyways, that we know who's going to the Super Bowl now,
Mhm.
and I didn't really have a dog in the fight, so to
Sure.
speak.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd root for my Seminole guys, and
Yeah.
the Eagles got Josh Sweat, the defensive end.
Mhm.
They ended up winning, and the Bills do have Keon Coleman, but
That's true.
the Chiefs have Derek Nottie and Fabian Lovett. They've got two Seminoles to Buffalo's one. So
To beach
I
one.
went with the
Yeah.
Chiefs,
It's a simple
and
math. Yeah.
you know what? I was saying last night, I don't care how well the Bills have been playing. I don't
Mhm.
care if their quarterback is an MVP. I don't care if the refs robbed them. I don't care if Kelsey Swift catches the touchdown to win the game, and they show that the lady that owns him 50 million times afterwards.
Yeah.
Don't care. F
Mhm.
the Bills. Like
There we
like
go,
I
baby.
cannot
Yes.
I cannot root for one of my division rivals to win
No.
anything.
Hell
And
no.
I'll tell you what, Josh Allen, he's a great quarterback. Hell, he could be the next Dan Marino,
Ooh,
who never
yes,
won
I
a
like
Super
that
Bowl
comp.
either.
It works for me.
Yeah, see where I'm going with that.
Oh yes.
Uh, at any rate, I'm a little bit bummed. A couple of years ago, we used to
Mhm.
have the East West Shrine Bowl here,
Yes. Yep.
and unfortunately, it's not here now. Which
Yeah,
hell,
they
man,
moved
it
it to
was like
Dallas, right? Yeah.
yeah. Which I mean, hell, it was like 20 minutes away. It was awesome
Oh,
to be able to
that's
go to
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Now they're making me work for it and drive if I want to go to one of those. But
Mhm.
yeah, man, just looking forward to seeing what goes on. And do you know, are we getting a announcement as to Aaron Glenn's staff when they do the presser later, or
I
is
don't
that going to
think
be
so.
kind of okay? I wasn't sure, or if it was going to be kind of a trickle down effect where we get names as they figure them out.
Well, here's something I don't think a lot of people know. And when I learn things, I like sharing it with you guys.
Mhm.
Obviously, we all know the Rooney Rule exists for head coaches, right? You have to interview 2 external minority candidates to satisfy the Rooney Rule before you can hire someone. What some
Uh-huh.
of you guys may not know, because I didn't know, that also counts for general managers. That also counts for coordinators. So,
Really?
yes, again, something I didn't know. And I pulled up the NFL rule book. I was flipping through the pages and I went, no shit. So, because a very common thing has been the Jets or Aaron Glenn's top target for offensive coordinator is a guy named Nick Caley, who's the LA Rams tight ends coach, and he's the LA
Yes.
Rams passing game coordinator. But a lot of Jet fans have been confused. Okay, if he's our top guy, then why the fuck aren't we hiring him? Well, apparently it's because the Jets have to go through the interview process for all the roles of their coordinators. So even though there's been heavy rumors about Steve Wilkes going to be the next DC of the Jets, they have to go through
Right.
that process. Even if he himself is minority, that doesn't skirt the rules. You still have to go through the full process. Nick
Right.
Caley and all these guys. So for folks that have been asking exactly the question you are, we get the introductory press conference. That's in a couple hours. That's live at 1:00. Maybe there are some. Maybe they've been able to, over the past couple of days, interview a couple, and maybe we'll get a couple of names. I'd be surprised if just boom, full staff list. Here it is. I'd prefer that, obviously. It helps us go along with the process. Say, okay, let's start looking at what our team's going to look like. Let's look at our staff. But I do not anticipate a full reveal this week. I think it will be exactly what you said on the back half of that other answer, that it will be a trickle down effect. It's going to, like yesterday, for instance, the Bears just announced one guy, then they announced a second guy, then they announced a third guy, and they've just been kind of methodically plodding along announcing those guys. I think that's what happens.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, the process is the process. You
Yeah,
know,
right.
you got to obey the rules, and
Mhm.
you know, even if we're just going through the motions because Kaylee is our guy.
Hey, everyone else is. New
Yeah,
England did it.
yeah.
Cowboys
I
did
was
it.
about to say we can probably make it more convincing than the Patriots did the way they did theirs.
So, hey, man.
I wonder. I wonder if next year they'll have their 2 Rooney candidates come in at the same time.
I mean,
Just get
with
it
the,
all
with
over
the,
with at once.
exactly. We might go in that direction. So, no, but I'm
That's
excited about
terrible.
it. I can't wait for Glenn. Can't wait for Muji later. It's going to be awesome. It's a new era here, Ricky. It's a new era.
Yes, I am. It's a whole new generation of Jets.
There we go. The Glennaissance, baby. I love it, Ricky. And thanks for the call. Jared B brings up Paul with Kubiak gone. By the way, Clint Kubiak is now the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. He was on the Jets list. He was on Aaron Glenn's list. Now, apparently, he's not the top guy. Again, everyone keeps saying it's Nick Caley, but that's one more name off the list. And offensive coordinator is a highly competitive market. I wrote a column about it last night when Kubiak went to the Seattle Seahawks. So, folks, it's highly competitive. So, the Jets got to just be moving and grooving and going after their guys and showing some chutzpah here. But the question from Jared B is it Caley or bust? I mean, you can phrase it that way. Nick Caley's their top guy, and they're doing everything they can to hire him. And if they can't get him, then they will go in a different direction. So I guess you could call it Caley or bust. I mean, they got to hire somebody, but it is Caley is the top target, 100%. Based on Benjamin Albright, NFL Insider told me, Connor Hughes confirmed it, Zach Rosenblatt confirmed, everyone's confirmed Nick Caley is the top guy. Now, it sounds like the Jets just might be going through the process to get to that guy outside of a surprise, potentially hitting us. All right, let's keep going down the phone lines here. We got BG, my
What's
brother from
going
another
on,
mother here
Paul?
on the show. What's up, Big Green?
Vontae Mack, no matter what.
That's it, baby. Draft Day, the greatest movie of all time. Who is your
Get the
Vontae
press
Mack?
conference going, and then boom, here's our OC. Who's our
Yep,
DC?
that's
Just
right.
flood the zone with all the information.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about the officiating last night?
Oh boy. I would say the one that got me was the obvious QB sneaks that Buffalo kept fucking up on, but the one where he pushed his body, it seemed like it passed the line. I think what we need to do is we are not cavemen in the 1800s anymore. Like, there should be a chip in the ball and tell us exactly where on the field he was, and then we could do it. Two refs spotting it from, you know, 30
Different
yards
spots.
back on. I think it's here. And a ref on the other side goes, I think it's here. And then how do they determine where it actually is? They just do rock, paper, scissors on the field, say, actually, my spot's better. Like, so that seems sort of not making a lot of sense. So that would be the only, if again, outside of a call I'm missing, that's the one if you're a Bills fan.
The
that you say,
interception.
oh yeah, well you're right. The ball hitting the ground and then simultaneous possession. Jets fans know nothing better than go to Jets Packers. I think that was 2009. It might have been 2010. And we played the Packers at MetLife Stadium. We lost 9-0, and we had 2 or 3 of those calls in the game where simultaneous possession is supposed to go to the offense. And in that particular case, they called Packers interception twice, even though it was supposed to be offense. So that one you could get froggy with. That's fair. The ball hit the ground. Was there
I thought that was
movement?
an incomplete
Yeah.
pass. That thing hit the ground.
Yeah. There's a case to be made, BG. There's certainly a case to be made. But besides those two, again, I think the Bills just lost the game. They didn't run the ball enough with James Cook in the first half. They have no one to blame but themselves for that. The game was close the entire time. And the Bills really, to me, have nothing to say. At the end of the game, they had a chance to tie the game or win it. What more could you ask for? Josh Allen, your super humanoid quarterback, you're down 3, tie the game or win it right now. You have the chance to 13-second the Kansas City Chiefs with a lot more time. They had like 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever they had. They had plenty of time to go handle business, and they didn't. So sorry, Bills. Sucks to suck, pal.
Yeah, the red zone offense for them didn't look. The play calling didn't look well. And how about Mekhi Becton might be getting his Super Bowl ring?
I will say that I tweeted it out and it went I didn't know it was going to go viral. I just tweeted it out and said, Mekhi Becton leaves the Jets, immediately goes to the Super Bowl. Like, that's crazy. And Quinnen Williams responded to the tweet and said, like, yeah, I'm happy for him. And I wasn't saying it in a shitty way. Like, I'm just like, that's fucking crazy. This guy was on our team and we're like, what the fuck? And then he leaves and immediately, boom, he's in the Super Bowl. We haven't been in the Super Bowl in 57 years, for God's sakes. So, like, it's crazy for Mekhi to be there. I'm happy for Mekhi. Obviously, Mekhi needed to mature. He had to leave here. He would never have been willing to be a guard here. I know Mekhi said on social media he was never asked to be a guard here, but he obviously went out and said, I'm a left tackle, and then deleted the tweet and caused all kinds of drama. So he had to have a slice of humble pie of hitting the open market, not a lot of people rushing to sign him. He takes the sweetheart deal with the Eagles, and he switched over to guard, and hey, all the props to him. A big salute, and I hope he wins the Super Bowl. That's awesome for Mekhi.
Yeah, the only offensive lineman we like to move around is AVT. God forbid we put Becton at guard.
Yeah, right. Go figure. I love the call, BG. Thank you. And some good stuff in the game last night, the conference championship games. Fascinating conversations. But yeah, so again, Mekhi, awesome. Former Jets, outside of Hassan Reddick, I hope he burns in hell. But besides Hassan Reddick, everybody else within reason that I can think of off the top of my head, hey, I'm wishing the best, man. Didn't work out here for whatever reason. God bless. Go work out. Other people I could see, obviously in the comment section, feel a lot differently, but hey, different strokes, different folks. All right, let's go back to the phone lines here. We got our boy Easy in the car, on the move, move and groove. What's up, Easy?
Yep, working.
Wow, is this a new truck? What's going on? Or
No,
bus?
this is my painting van, my work van. I'm going to work today for an old employer of mine because the two guys that I am hooked up with right now don't have any work, and this guy does. So,
hey,
you got to go where the cheese is, right?
Loyalty to the cheese.
That's
you
it.
Know it
So
well.
I'm driving.
Yeah.
So I'm on the 540 belt line driving up to Briar Creek where he parks his trucks.
Nice.
Anyone in North Carolina in the Triangle area knows where Briar Creek is.
Mm-hmm.
So
all right.
I think Jared B. lives around here, or he was from my old neighborhood in Long Island or something.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, cool.
Anyway, the Rooney Rule is a little bit weird when it comes to the Jets because I have to give respect to Woody Johnson. He has really done a lot of minority hirings, and in his tenure with the Jets.
Herm Edwards, Todd Bowles, Aaron Glenn, Robert Saleh. Yes.
Yep. I mean, so he's definitely a guy that will take the talented man regardless of his race. So I got to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
I just think that literally forcing people to interview guys just to do the rule, I think is a little bit pushy, but I understand 75% of the league is African American, so and there's not a lot of them in head coaching or in
coordinator positions too,
right? Coordinators,
yeah.
And the other thing is general managers.
Oh yeah, that number is incredibly low. Incredibly low. That's a good point.
And one of the best ever was a black man.
Yeah, Ozzie Newsome.
Ozzie, I mean, he was amazing, and that's where that's the tree that Joe D came from. And I'm sick to death that it didn't work out with Joe D. I really liked him. I thought he did a lot of good things. I think what killed him was last year. His defensive line moves last year, I think, is what really did him in more than anything else.
That destroyed the team.
Yep. That's what killed him, because he was supposed to be this, studs up front kind of guy, and he hurt our defensive line. He did kind of help build up the O-line, though. I got to give him credit for that. This year's O-line was not horrible.
It's sort of ironic that he showed up here in 2019 and his number one task was building the offensive line. He couldn't build it, and then when he leaves, he's not dead, but like when he dies, when his Jets tenure dies,
right?
Oh, a halfway respectable offensive line.
Now we got now we have a respectable O-line, yeah. But it shouldn't have taken him 6 years to do it either.
Well, that's also true. Unless he was going to school to be a doctor. Yeah, I don't really see the length there. Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God, that's right. 6 years to be a doctor.
There it is. Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, but who wants that responsibility?
Amen. Easy.
That's a lot of responsibility. So anyway, how are you ever going to go to a Senior Bowl, since your daughter's birthday and the Senior Bowl are always going to be the same week every year?
That's a good point. Again, maybe I got to pull a Ricky New York again. Sell the
no,
family.
You're just going to have to pack up. You're just going to have to make it a nice big family trip and pack up mom and your daughter and your son, and just go down there and have your dad come down there with you and your mother to come down there with you, and turn it into like a family affair where you get to spend some time, on the field with the guys and talk Jets and talk, Senior Bowl and stuff. And then you go back and you go out and you have a nice big party for your daughter, and
that's it. I think that's the way to do it, because I want to go to all the tentpole events. Again, it almost lined up last year where I was going to get to go to a lot of stuff like Super Bowl and Combine and Draft. I'd love to go to a Draft Live and Senior Bowl and all these things. So it's going to take time to set it all up, but I hope so, because obviously it'd be cool to give you guys exclusive live content being at all those places. So it's certainly on the bucket list, Easy.
Fatherhood is important. Remember, these kids are only going to be little cute babies for about another 7 years, and then they're going to start, you're going to be teaching them how to ride their bicycles, and then you got to start warning them about boys and girls and bullies in high school.
I'll have the shotgun ready. Yeah, I'm going to have the shotgun.
You don't need shotgun. You're a Taekwondo guy. Teach them Taekwondo.
My arms are the weapons. I like it, Easy. That's what I'll do. But yeah, I love it. And it was awesome to be able to spend time. Again, normally I'm all on my Jet stuff. So to be able to put the phone away for a little bit and to do all that action for a 3-year-old birthday was magical. It was really nice. All right, let's go back to the phone lines here. We'll get a couple more callers in before I have to run to the radio station. We got all new interns this week. So Papa Green here is on training day. So we'll see how these interns do as I put them through the ringer and see if they've got what it takes to get to the top. So we'll see if that's the case. All right, let's jump on over to the phone lines. Get a couple more calls in here. Again, we got 700 people in the room. Like the video, hit subscribe, baby. Again, we got those free subscriber giveaways. The quicker we get there to those subscriber numbers, the more free shit I'm going to give away. Look at all this shit behind me. Look at all these boxes and shit. I got free shit. Free Jet stuff I'm trying to give away. High quality H2O, as one Adam Sandler said, and Waterboy, baby. So I'm looking forward to giving back to the fans. So like I said, the quicker we get through, the quicker we'll be giving away more stuff. So I can't wait. Let's go back to the phone lines here. We got the legend, June, the GM, baby. What's up, pal?
Hey, what's going on, Paul? Listen, before I start, little advice for you from a married
Oh.
man who's been with the same woman 30 years.
Wow, congratulations, by the way.
Hey, thank you. If you want to go out there and make that trip to Mobile,
yeah,
you have to attach a shopping spree for her. Sell her on the mall in town. Oh, man, I heard about a mall down there. They got this store and that store. The minute you bring that up, she's on the way. Trust me.
Okay.
Attach shopping.
I'm going to write that one down.
You have to. So what about that? Now, yesterday's game is real quick, and it's going to tie into my point. We all know that, it's virtually impossible to beat the modern day Patriots, which are the Chiefs. They get 100%. All the calls. They get the calls that they shouldn't. We all know how the league's shifting towards making him the golden boy, Mahomes. Yeah. We all know it's kind of crazy. But if people paid attention to the games yesterday, they will realize one thing that still stands. In a so-called passing league, it still comes down to getting that 1 yard, baby. You have to be physical. And that's why I think that our Jets need to once again have an identity of physicality. Because last year teams were running on us and we couldn't run on them. So number one for Glenn, hey, get back to physicality. Let's run the ball, control the clock, because a good quarterback can't do nothing if he's on the sideline. And then let's get back to stopping the run, because the minute the season started against San Fran, I said to myself, oh my God, we can't stop the run. We're done. So we got to get back to that, because like you said, how many 4-for-1s Buffalo had? Oh,
3 or 4
team. Run the freaking rock for the yard. Give it to your belt. Give it to your horse. Get that. They couldn't get a yard, and they want to go to the where? Super Bowl? No, we got to get physical. Just got to get back to being physical. We were soft under Salah. We were missing too many tackles. More focus on speed than intimidating the opponent. I want to get physical. We need to get physical again. We need to, Paul.
And that was so lame. So you go back to that 49ers game, right? So, 49ers fuck around with the medical report, and Christian McCaffrey wasn't ready to go, so he didn't play. But we had a fucking backup running back in there, and then the Jets' excuse is, we weren't quite prepared for this guy. Like, get the fuck out of here.
We made him look like Eddie George way back in the day.
Like, come on, man. So I am all for physicality. I'm all for an identity. Quite frankly, we haven't had an identity since those Rex Ryan Jets, and I know they weren't perfect, but those Rex Ryan Jets, Rex was very blunt. We're gonna punch you in the fucking mouth, and then we're gonna attack. We're gonna get after you. And then ever since the early portion of the Rex Ryan tenure, we've just kind of floated around, and we're in week 7, week 8, and then we get the question from the media: "Hey, what is your guys' identity?" They're like, "I don't know yet. We'll figure it out." What do you mean?
Yeah, that's why I didn't like. I think that's why it was time to get rid of Salah, time to get rid of Joe Douglas. No disrespect. Joe caught a couple of good draft picks here and there. Sure. But at the end of the day, we were known throughout history as a fit. When you play the Jets, people said, yo, put on your chin straps tight. They coming to hit. Just like Pittsburgh's identity, the Ravens' identity, we lost that. We need to build in the trenches. I think our offensive line is a strong suit of our team. I think we can make it a little stronger, but I think a lot had to do with the running game coordinator and things like that. But on defense, we need to help Quentin Williams out. I mean, we have to get back to stopping the run and attacking. We have to.
And no more bullshit about, again, I think people are glad that Salah's gone and that regime for a lot of reasons. One of them is that they got run all over. The other one was the rotation, that it was hard for people to buy into because Quentin, some of your best players are playing 60% of snaps. You're like, what the fuck's going on here? On this new Aaron Glenn team, again, we'll see the rest of his staff. Our best players are going to be playing a lot. That's what happens.
It's almost like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, didn't it seem like with Duzak Clemens as if like Joe Douglas didn't want to cut players he drafted for some odd reason?
Yeah, it's normally what people... It's the ego thing, which, again, hopefully there's just more adulting in the room that, like, if shit stinks, you rip the Band-Aid off. Does it look a little bad that you cut a draft pick? Maybe from a PR and optics perspective, but who gives a shit? You got to make the best decision in the best interest of the football team. And again, Michael Clemens, there's a couple of other examples of guys that he hung on to for far too long and then eventually make a decision. Obviously, we talked about the Greg Zuerlein thing. He just gave him an extension, so it would look bad if he pulled the plug early. But again, despite the optics, you have to do what's best for the football team.
You
And he
have
waited
to.
too long, and the season was fucked.
I got
So
a
he's
question
waited.
for
He
you
waited too
before.
long. Conviction.
I got one question before I go for you.
Sure. Yeah.
In today's press conference, which all Jet fans, I don't have no nails left. I'm down to my forearm already. You know, what do you want to see most? What question would you like to see answered most in this press conference, aside from the obvious Aaron Rodgers questions we're going to get? What do you want Aaron Glenn to address to us, New York Jet fans, today?
Yeah, to your point, there's going to be a lot of obvious ones, and I'll just say those off the top again because we're just getting those out of the way. What's going on with Aaron Rodgers? What does your staff look like? Simple questions like that. That's all going to be asked. That should be asked. Those are very important questions. Putting those aside, because obviously those are going to be asked, we hope. The other thing is, like, first off, I want to hear about Aaron Glenn because we've heard other people say it, but I haven't heard Aaron Glenn outside of his statement from the Jets. How bad did he want this job? What the dream some of the core stuff about being a Jet and why this mattered to him and why he didn't give a shit what anyone else thought about this Jets job. Some people ranked it the worst job. Some people ranked it in the middle. Why he was like, this is the job I wanted. I had options. I chose the Jets. That to me would be really intriguing. And then hearing like the identity, quite frankly, kind of going to your your initial point. You're going back to the punchline from stand up here is like, what is the identity of this team? What's your vision for this team? Sell the fans of what it's going to be, of like smash mouth football or this kind of football or high pace, high octane, this, that, or the other. I'm just curious to hear the vision, how he plans on installing that vision, and then kind of this relationship too. It's interesting. According to everybody, Darren Muji, the new general manager, has no direct relationship with Aaron Glenn outside of they both know Sean Payton. So how did that happen? And obviously, Aaron Glenn was in the interview room with Muji when he interviewed with the Jets for a second time. So obviously, they're sort of on the same page. But like, what kind of factored in there? What's the shared vision? These guys are on the same page, but Jet fans want to hear more about that relationship.
A lot of
So
layers.
those are a lot of big ones.
A lot of layers to unravel. And also the question with what happened with Lance Newmark that was in the building. And then all of a sudden, oh, we're shifting it. We're going in another direction. It's not Lance. Yeah. So yeah, they're going to get a lot of strong questions today from the media.
I can't wait. June, thank you so much for the call, brother. Appreciate you. Yeah, there are going to be a lot of questions that have to be asked. That Lance one is one on my mind. We're going to have an insider on this week, folks, and that's going to be one of my top questions. What the fuck happened? It seemed very obvious that Lance Newmark and AG were both interviewing in person at the same time. If everything went well, bing, boom, bam, there's your head coach GM, but obviously it didn't happen that way. Lance Newmark met in and interviewed with Aaron Glenn. Next day, Aaron Glenn gets announced, and they're like, yeah, we're going to look at other guys. They're like, what? Huh? What happened there? So again, that's going to be as well. To answer a couple of your guys' questions, the press conference will be live streamed on the New York Jets official YouTube channel and on the New York Jets app. So you guys can check out both of that. They'll be live streaming at 1:00. It will be a joint press conference with Aaron Glenn, and it'll involve Darren Muji. There'll be opening statements, Woody Johnson, all that jazz. There'll be Q&A with the media in attendance at One Jets Drive. So all of that will be happening. We will see. I'd love to do a show after that at some point here later on Monday. We'll keep you guys posted on that if we're able to do that. If not, we will save that for tomorrow morning. For a full reaction to the press conference. Hopefully we could do it today. Like I said, we'll see how everything ends up lining up there. Sorry to everybody that's all on hold. I thought I would have more time for you guys to answer all the remaining phone calls that are here on hold. I apologize. Got to run to the radio station for our interns. But folks, like the video, hit subscribe. Again, we've got a lot of terrific guests this week. You're not going to want to miss it. Like I said, we have a team insider coming on. We have a national insider coming on. We've got some Senior Bowl coverage as well, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Like the video, hit subscribe. And like I said, by the end of the week, baby, we're going to be doing our giveaway for a Nike Atmosphere Aaron Rodgers jersey. I'll throw it up on the screen one more time real quick. This is what we're giving away at the end of the week, baby. Throw it up on the screen. A Aaron Rodgers Nike Atmosphere jersey, a $50 Boy Green merch shop gift card, and a custom laser engraving package, baby. One lucky member of the Boy Green Coffee Club will be getting this. So again, if you'd like a raffle ticket to this, you can join the Boy Green Coffee Club down in the YouTube description down below. Join the Boy Green Coffee Club here. Click. It's $2.99, or gift memberships. If you're unable to gift memberships because of phone issues, some people have iPhones or Androids or what have you, you can PayPal or Venmo your money in. Just make sure you put in a note that this is for the Boy Green raffle giveaway. and each ticket is $2.99 a pop. That's how much a Boy Green Coffee Club membership is. So we make it fair for everyone that they get the same opportunity for raffle tickets. You could super chat that in, you could super sticker it in, or you can PayPal or Venmo. Again, $2.99 per raffle ticket. There is no limit. You can buy as many raffle tickets as you like. The more raffle tickets you have, the better chance you have. But I would just say this for anyone who's out there, you might as well get at least one raffle ticket that gives you a shot to potentially win. You never know where that wheel is going to spin, and we will do that reveal of who's going to win live on the show. I will be incredibly transparent, and I'm rooting for all of you guys, whoever ends up winning that. And like I said, once we get to 7,500 subscribers on YouTube, we'll be doing another giveaway for all you guys as well. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to Russell Brown, our NFL draft analyst from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros, for joining us. And we'll be back on at a minimum tomorrow morning for Boy Green Daily. We might be back on later for that press conference again, coming up live at 1 o'clock. And we'll try to get on later this evening to react, to give you the top takeaways from it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Take care.